Okay, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready when you are. Are we recording? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good afternoon. This is Commissioner Linker. Welcome to the subcommittee meeting for October 7th. So our first thing is our call to order. Dr. Fair, if you can do the roll call for us.
Yes. All right, Commissioner William Cheshire. Commissioner Angela Flowers. Commissioner Hannah Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez present.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker.
Commissioner Linker present.
Commissioner Lindsay Size.
Commissioner Lindsay Sice present.
Perfect. Okay, so you do have quorum.
Right. So the next order is approval of the minutes. If everyone's had a chance to review the minutes and there's no discussion, we could entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Jimenez, the motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Sice, I second.
We have our first and our second to approve the minutes. If we can have our vote, Dr. Fair.
Okay, Commissioner Hannah Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez, aye.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker.
Commissioner Linker, aye.
And Commissioner Lindsay Size.
Commissioner Sice, aye.
Okay, everyone in attendance is in agreement.
Okay. And so that gets us into our work for the day, is looking at the module work for advisors course. We did have 4, I'm going to pull up my notes for that. 4 or 5 advisors.
It was 5.
Yeah, one came in a little bit later. And I shared with you guys a document where I just like copied and pasted their suggestions because to me the main thing we had a lot of rows and columns to keep up with. So under the notes, I just made some notes of some of the suggestions, and we can talk about that as we go by the module. So the first section is the welcome module. Now, I would like to say for the record, I greatly appreciate the input from the former advisors. I know they took time out to really, it looks like really in depth, give us some really good feedback. So they took their time. And we have some input from classroom teachers and ECEL. So we have at least a voice in our information that we have, our suggestions and comments. So with that said, I don't know if you guys had a chance to really like dig deep into it, but the welcome module overall, I feel like it was well received. There were a couple of suggestions that were made. The first one is like more of a technical issue, and then after reading it, I'm like, yeah, that would be a problem possibly. One of the advisors said that on the flyer section that there were scroll bars and that it was a little cumbersome, and she was afraid that maybe people didn't realize that they had to scroll all the way down to get to the next button at the bottom of the page. And so we might need to address that so that it's, instead of it being 3 different things that you're scrolling through, that it's separate slides maybe. Any ideas on how to overcome that part? That's the only thing I could think of. If you guys have any other suggestions, I could see that might be a problem, especially for someone who might not be as familiar with Canvas.
Commissioner Jimenez, I think the easiest thing would be just to resize the flyer so that it doesn't cause it to create another scroll bar. And that shouldn't be too difficult. And I can take a look at that as well.
Okay. So I'm just going to make a comment of, and then we're going to look at resizing the flyer. Sorry. The other formatting thing that someone had pointed out is that maybe that first slide was a little cut and dry, and it might be more visually appealing if we either add some sort of graphic or maybe go and insert a picture from the previous evaluators, which we have or had as a background on other slides. So I know it's in the course. It's just a matter of adding it, moving it over and adding it. So that was the feedback on the more the format. The other format, which actually I was also an excellent suggestion. Someone had the suggestion that since we're asking participants to introduce themselves, that we should have a place for the commission. Well, that was the creators of the module, but I think maybe the commission as a whole, where we introduce ourselves. If we're asking them to introduce themselves, maybe we insert something where we've introduced ourselves.
I think that's a good idea, Commissioner Seiss. Because I know just coming to that first meeting, like, it's overwhelming because you don't know who to go to necessarily. And I think maybe having a picture of each of us would give them a better idea, like, oh, I know I can ask that person for help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that wouldn't take any kind of time.
Another suggestion was as far as for them to be able to reach out to each other, either, and I'm not sure the logistics of the map part, so I'm going to maybe rely on, I know Jimenez, you have a lot more experience with Canvas and Seiss than I do, but the suggestion was either a map of the evaluators, and I'm not sure we could do a map of where the evaluators are from, but or the other suggestion was maybe a Padlet. So like we had a Padlet where people could put on where they're coming from, and add it to the Padlet so that they can, one, reach out to each other if they're looking at carpooling, but two, that they can reach out to folks that might be in close proximity to them. They would know, you know, from the Padlet, I'm from this region. I mean, I think the Padlet has to be by regions because there's way too many districts to organize a Padlet. But I thought that was a good suggestion. So they can see like where they are, either visually on a map or through posting on a Padlet. And that would be an option, like you could put it if you wanted to, maybe not a requiring people to do so.
Commissioner Jimenez, I like that, but I think it probably would be easiest if we just made it like a discussion board, where we could like have a different discussion board for each region, and then that allows them the space to like communicate and connect. And it's just kind of an option, not required.
Yeah, discussion board for each region. That's good. Yeah. So that way they don't have to go outside of the course to look at it. It's all in one place.
Yep.
And then there was a comment about a mistake, and that on the introduce yourself page, it was says if you did not agree to allowing the use of your picture, and the suggestion was that we change the allowing to allow. So that would read, if you did not agree to allow the use of your picture. And that's all I saw as far as recommendation. Overall, they thought it was well done, and the information provided was needed in an understandable and easy to follow format. So that I can go in and fix that, because that would probably make more sense in the flow of that one slide to just change allowing to allow. So for the before evaluation week is the next area of that. And the first thing, and I'm not sure that we didn't already do this somewhere. I mean, I felt like we did, but I took some stuff out. So maybe it's something that I took out. Someone said that we should probably let them know to print their standards if they would like a hard copy. And I felt like maybe that's during the week, or I took it out. I mean, I know we had it to begin with. I just don't remember if I took it out or if we moved it. Actually, that may be in the video. Maybe that's where I saw it at.
Yeah, Commissioner Jimenez, I think we just need to go back through and see if it's mentioned somewhere. It might just not be mentioned in that section, but I do feel like that was something we discussed mentioning. And so I think it's somewhere.
Yeah. And I really think it might be something that you guys have specifically in the video, but maybe it needs to be in addition to the video. The second thing is, the second comment that I have copied was a suggestion that everyone wouldn't need to see everything, but they do need to see everything in those first two modules. So the thing was, it might be nice to break it down by evaluation area so people aren't seeing areas they don't need. For example, if you're evaluating math, you don't really need to see the CTE materials. The only place it's broken down specifically is for the standards are. Everything else I feel like everybody needs to see. And I feel like you have the option to access with your math, you're going to go to the math. And if you're CTE, you're going to go to that CTE module.
Yeah, I think that could easily be alleviated by like maybe making a video at the beginning of like how-tos in Canvas or something like that. Just knowing that like those modules are not set as required modules. Like the first two are set as required modules, but the ones with the CTE and math are just supposed to choose the one that they're supposed to be a part of. And there are ways to like limit, like that advisor was asking, but we wouldn't be able to do that until the participants are added to the course.
Right.
And that could be very time consuming for someone.
And I think if you just say, if your math, we even talked about the possibility of cutting off the other two modules and just having access to those three course specific. I don't know that the advisors would have known that going into the evaluating or giving us the feedback. That our intention is that those required courses may possibly be not available. So all you would do the week during the actual process would be go to your module for your specific area, and that's where everything is for you. So I'm just going to say, and maybe in the how-to in Canvas video, make sure we say that it's not required to allow advisors to choose where they need to be. Someone said maybe a place for like just general packing tips and organization, stating that, for instance, that person's room was very cold and a lot of people ended up going to buy sweatshirts because they hadn't packed for how cold it could have ended up being. So maybe just making a list of packing / organizational tips.
As Commissioner Seiss, I don't know. I kind of feel like people that have gone to meetings, I mean, don't y'all pack a sweatshirt?
Yeah, or take a sweater.
Like, I just feel like at this point, I don't know how to word it, but that like, it doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. Like, if you know you're typically a cold person, I shouldn't have to tell you to pack a sweatshirt.
And
that
the
makes
fact
sense.
Meeting place that we might not control the temperature.
Yeah. Like, I just feel like that's unnecessary information because we already have so much. Like, that's kind of, some things have to be left up to them, and that's kind of common sense stuff. Like, you should know what to pack. You're an adult.
Or
just being extra mean, but
later on, there's something about a comment about maybe FAQ, and maybe that's something in the FAQ. Make sure you dress appropriately.
Maybe, yeah.
You never know what the actual meeting space is like. Let's see. someone said we probably, and we went back and forth about the flyer. I don't know if you guys remember, but someone actually made the comment that, the flyer might not be necessary. You've already signed up and been selected, so therefore that may not be necessary to include the flyer. I really tend to agree with that. I mean, we've gone back and forth. Like, do we need it or do we don't really need it because they've already gone into this course after they've signed up and agreed to participate before they were even actually chosen. So is the flyer even necessary in the module? And I think we felt like only because it talks about the logistics of even then you should know that before you agree to do it, the pay rate and that kind of stuff.
Commissioner says I agree, and then that would take away the problem of having to resize it.
Yeah, that's true. So I think we just take
Just get rid of it.
Yeah. The other comment I have, and I try to do like a cross by the advisor, so the same comments are kind of together by the advisor, not down the road by the question. There was a question about how the documents link to the math, and that's the way it is linked by them. Like it basically it's to the same thing, but it's bookmarked on different parts of it. So all the standards are in the same Google. I think it's in Google, the same Google, and you just like slide or whatever it's in, and you just click on the link that bookmarks you straight down to your specific area. And so that's the thing that's provided by DPI. I mean, the math consultants provided that, or the math department. So I think that's the intention. I mean, they do all three go to the same link, but that's the way they have the standards up on the actual website. So that when you pull it up, it's bookmarked. And so then when I click on discrete math, it'll bookmark me, take me straight to where the discrete math is there on the page or within the platform. So I think that is the intention. I mean, I think it's meant to be like that, and that's not really something that we can control, because that's how it's housed on DPI. So that's like out of our control kind of thing. And I feel like the people that are evaluating free areas hopefully are familiar with how to access their standards. The other thing was the light bulb and the pen graphic. If we take out the flyer, that's the only place it was. So if we take away the flyer, that takes care of that comment. And we knew this. The last person was either EC or ESL. Did a really good job of looking at it from every lens. That there was no EC or EC or ESL, and there is not a lot of EC or EL, because that's something that I need to reach out front to those areas to get more specific information. I think maybe later on somebody suggests, that same person probably suggests that we link the WIDA standards and that sort of stuff in there. Yeah, because they also said a section for ESL or EC standards, or what they will be looking for. Well, there are no EC standards, right? Am I right? I mean, there's EL, the WIDA standards, but
yeah, I don't think there is anything for EC
standards. So it could be a matter of in that, because there is nothing in that specific module. It's blank, that I need to maybe find a link to the WIDA standards, or talk to the consultants from that department and ask what they would recommend as a resource, hyperlink on that page.
Commissioner Linker, this is Carmela.
Mm-hmm.
And you also may want to remind them that they will be using the criteria to do their evaluation, not so much standards as the content teachers will do, but basically using those criteria sheets for their check. It doesn't hurt if they want to have access to the standards, but they won't be doing a review based on any standards. It'll just be the criteria.
And they said maybe something to do with what their duties and standards are. So like I know I need to come up with something that easily explains how they're looking at it through the lens of that specialty area for those students' needs, but like using a separate criteria sheet.
Yeah. If you like, this is Carmela. If you like, I can try to set up maybe a call between us and the EC and EL consultants who provided the information
Yes.
about the criteria sheets.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
I'm afraid I might mistake something in that.
Okay, I'll set that up.
So the next module is about evaluation week, and there was really 3 things. Someone said we could suggest that we add a schedule for the day in this section, but that's actually something we're going to put in the specific courses, and we don't really have that information to add, but it's on my list of things that we would add once we get closer in. That room will have their schedule of the day in that section. And so that's going to be, it is going to be added, but it will be added once we get closer to that week. Again, I'm sure there was no way for them to know that just by reviewing the course. Now someone did say, suggestion was, it says the reflect, so I'm going to read the actual comment. The reflection video feels a little long. Perhaps each question could have used its own video. I know that many people are zoomed out from all the online learnings and meetings, and longer videos tend to be ignored. 2 or 3 short videos might have more impact than one big long one.
This is, Commissioner Sykes, I want to comment on that because I read that. If you present me with 2 to 3 or 4 videos, I'm not going to watch them all. I'm going to watch the first one.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I'd rather have it in one video.
yeah.
Well, Commissioner Jimenez, it's also like an optional video, so we're not expecting everyone to watch like all of it. It's just if you want information from past advisors, this is a resource that is here for you. So maybe we just need to present
It is that way. And there was a comment that said lack of content, but I think that had to do more with the EC and the EL, and there wasn't any content really in that. And then this is where the suggestion was that we should maybe add an FAQ section. But a lot of the FAQ things I feel like are added in that, or addressed in that video. Like
Yeah.
one of the questions we asked was there something that you wished we could have known before? Do you think that's something that we should come up with?
Commissioner Sykes, can't we just put a little caveat on that page with the video that this video answers some common questions?
Yeah, Commissioner Jimenez, I agree. I think that's a great idea. I also it's kind of hard for us to know what frequently asked questions are because we're kind of on the other side of it. But I was thinking maybe we could put like a discussion board in there.
And is there not one in there?
Is there one where they have, is there any questions that they have? I just can't remember. I don't have
There should be a question at the end of each module. There should be a discussion. Let me go look.
Then never mind. I think, yeah, as long as there's a space for them to ask the questions that they might be having, if it hasn't been answered already, then I think we've kind of met that need.
I agree.
Yeah, the last thing for the module is, Oh, there's not for that one. There is one before it, so it's just a matter of copying and adding it. We did have it before I rearranged. Remember we rearranged and condensed it down? So I could definitely just make the same thing that I made for the first module and add a discussion board for any feedback on or questions. I'm typing that. Okay, so that was, yeah, I think the lack of content was more, that was the person who was actually asking questions about EC and ELL, because there is nothing in that specific thing, other than the placeholder page. So when you're looking at the specific course modules, like the math one, someone suggested that the unpacking document might be helpful. And it says, particularly if the teacher is evaluating a course that may not have taught or have not taught for some time.
Commissioner Jimenez, I think we can link that, but I think we can also just suggest that if this is a course that they haven't taught for a while, the unpacking document might be beneficial, but many of them are teaching the courses that they're reviewing and probably already have it, but it could, I mean, or we can just link it.
I say, why don't we just link it to the main DPR document page, and then they can scroll through and pick their thing.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we have that one page discussing the criteria, the standards on it. It's just a matter of another link.
That way we don't have to link multiple things. They can just scroll through.
So it's there if they need it, and if they don't. So I must have made a note to link that. That was the only comment for the math specific. For the CTE specific, someone said they are the ones that were used previously in another module. So we mentioned them in the earlier module, I think, but that was what's not going to be available necessarily when we get there on site. And I'm okay with it being twice. Because there is a slide that has all of it linked in that slide, but the idea was for, so that's not so cluttered, that when we got to the evaluation week, we would just disable the module or unpublish the first two modules, and the only modules that would be available would be the math, the CTE, the ECEL, and within those modules would be the pertinent information for the room or rooms that deal with that advisors in that area. Also, we could link anything that DPI consultants share in their training within that module, which keeps them from having to wade through everybody to see their specific area. Yeah, you guys agree with that? Or do you think it's redundant to have it in two different places? So you guys okay with us keeping it in both places?
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Seiss, that's fine. Sorry, I'm reading the comments
Okay.
on the thing.
The other thing, again, I think Dr. Fair gave the suggestion for that is someone put a guide to EC and ESL teachers. That doesn't need to be in the CTE standards. That would need to be in the EC and the ELL module. And again, maybe just a reminder that they're not using the standards to evaluate. They're looking at it through a different criteria sheet through the lens of that to meet the needs of that special population.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not sure that the person who answered that maybe didn't know that. For the ECELL, it said attempted multiple times to access the resources and unable to do so. I'm thinking that's because there's nothing really there.
Yeah, so I was gonna say there aren't any.
Yeah.
So that kind of answers that question. And then the second one was, that's where the recommendation was to maybe link WIDA. Like I said, there are no EC standards, but there is WIDA and there are ELD standards for the state that I could do a link if they want to have them for reference in case the criteria sheet relates to it. I know in the past, like ELL teachers would say it met this part and this part of our WIDA requirements, but it lacked in this part.
Commissioner Sice, and we had some of those in our room with the EL teachers.
Yeah.
So I think it goes back to the point where everything is housed in one place. So this is going to be super easy for them while they're physically sitting in the room to pull up their Canvas course and click on that document. Like, I just think at the end of the day, if we can just add those links, it would make it a lot easier for them to not have to hunt for so many things.
Yeah. So we'll talk with Dr. Fairline's at the meeting, and I can see anything that they suggest the EC and the EL department there at DPI. Other than I do agree that the WIDA standards need to be linked. If nothing for anything else, also for commissioners that may not be as familiar with the WIDA documents, because that is something that they will relate back to in their discussion and their findings. And again, just making sure they know that they're not looking at, they're using the criteria sheet and not standards for that specific course of the material. So then the overall comments, someone added this one. More information could be added about standard alignment and what will be expected during the evaluation process. I feel like that's the thing that we would ask after the DPI consultants have their presentation. Like, I don't know if that needs to be in there before they're trained from the DPI on the criteria sheets.
Commissioner Sice, I read that too. I don't think so, because that's my thing is, you know that you're coming to do this to align the standards to the book. Like, I just read it as being an odd, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, I feel like they get that when they get there. I don't think it's anything that we need to talk about.
So we just have DPI share the slides with us so we can add a link into it in case they refer back to the training, but they don't need that ahead of time. Those were meant for being when you're physically there, this is what you'll need to refer to. We don't need to look at the before. We could leave the introduction part, like the welcome module, open so they can go back and look at who are these people that I'm trying to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
But that before and during week expectations, those are probably going to be unpublished, just to keep it from being too much. So then they know anything you need in math if you're in the math room, anything you need a CTE if you're in the CTE room. If you're EC or EL, what you need to know is in here pertaining to what your criteria that you're looking at. And then again, we can add training slides after the training. Again, that was a thing for the FAQ. So do we want add a discussion platform for each module and the contents? Like add one for the math and one for, so if they have any questions, they can put them in that during that week.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way, because then as the question pops into their head, they're right there on that page or that section of the Canvas course. Yeah.
I'm not really sure I understood the EPI Canvas course recommendations. The slide media release form, not able to go back. I think because I had that, like you said, you go forward before you go back.
Commissioner Jimenez, and I think it should stay that way. Like, we can't, once you answer the question, like, we can't be expected to constantly be checking it to see if someone's changed their mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Once they answer the question, that is the answer for the question.
What's the teacher evaluation areas? So the light bulb, and we've already talked about that. Adoption page, hyperlinks to more information and beneficial and effective to research more information. I think this somebody just kind of put all their specific. All three go to the same videos. Oh, no, that's a good thing. I mean, I think the first ones are just comments that they've already added, and they just put it for overall. It says it would be nice to have some kind of ending slide, and we did have an ending slide before we redid it when it was a little heavy. Go back to just that slide that says, your value, your inputs, your value,
Mm-hmm.
that something like that. I think it's still in there, but I can move it to the end of it. That may be something to add, just like a closing kind of slide.
Yeah, just Commissioner Jimenez, I think, if we just rearrange it, it's kind of already there. It's just moving it.
Would we put it at the end of the welcoming, or would we put it at the end of the week, the last module, which they can see now, which will be the during the week one?
Put it at the end of what they'll be able to see before they come. Because then,
the week before. I mean, the week.
yeah, once they come, then we're going to hide all of the previous stuff so they can only see the stuff they need while they're there.
Right. So the content area ones they won't really see until they're there. And I think maybe I should leave those open in case they want to go take that opportunity to look at the standards and stuff. I'll just put it at the end of the during week module.
Okay.
Maybe that would be a good place to add something about, if you have any questions that you think of, please make sure you put them in the. Suggestions for future. Now, so the suggestions for improving training, this was something we talked about and then we took out. And I think this person's idea was really to make it easier for Dr. Fair in the collection of material. But we've been back and forth, and we ended up saying no, that's handled a separate way. But the suggestion is that we include the paperwork and the forms to the course so people can have those completed. Some forms are, but like the mileage, the hotel information could be included as well. To streamline things even more, they can simply mark the task as complete, and then she, being Dr. Fair, can easily see who is not yet submitted. And so that, to me, that's more of a Dr. Fair, like what works for her.
Mm-hmm.
Works for us. Whatever's easier for her is easier for us. So, Dr. Fair, do you have any preferences?
So this is Carmela. So one of the things that I've been thinking about that I may look into, especially dealing with the media release form, because we did that earlier for the 5 advisors that gave feedback.
Mhm.
That is possibly using DocuSign to collect some of this information through the forms through DocuSign. That worked very well with the past advisors. And I was thinking that it could possibly work well with the teachers when we prepare to do that, so that would come through the agency's DocuSign, and it's what everybody's going toward trying to use now. And I can send it to a mass group of people through DocuSign. So it may be that using DocuSign might work best for me, but it's something that I'm looking into.
So if you decide that something works easier for you to add it to the course, you know that I hope you know that you have permission, if that's the right word. Like, you can add whatever you feel like needs to be added for all the work that you do behind the scenes that we may not even always be knowledgeable of, because you do so much behind the scenes. There's no way we could know everything that you do to keep it running smoothly for us and the whole process.
Okay. And one of the things that I probably will do, I didn't want to go in there while you all were finalizing your content and getting your feedback from your advisors, but I probably will go in and have a place for things that they need to think about for logistics and things like that. So I'll add that in.
Okay. And I think this may be a good time to also remind everyone that, we've talked in the past, but there are some accessibility kind of things and guidelines that DPI has established, that I know Dr. Fair's been going through the commissioners and looking at it through that lens of, does it meet the accessibility requirements that DPI is wanting to make sure anything that has their stamp on it meets. And so she will also do that to the advisors. And like I mentioned last time, like the orange background with the white font, while it's pretty, I've read somewhere that white fonts are not necessarily accessible to visual handicaps. So things like that are going to possibly change, and things might need to be added to meet those requirements. So I think that's about all that I have that I copied for comments. Do you ladies have anything else to look at or talk about for, other than the changes that we've already noted?
No, everything was great.
So I think, because I do need to go back and make a couple changes, those changes will need to probably be incorporated. We'll need to meet one last time just to make sure it's good to go and sign off on this. Again, knowing that it's, as the agency looks at it through a different lens, that Dr. Fair is going to make those sort of changes with our blessing and gratitude.
Will do.
So I think I have nothing else. I think that's covered the agenda. We do need to set another meeting probably in a month like this. I really want to put this to bed.
Amen.
So I don't know what everybody looks like as far as future. Different decisions are being made by different districts. Afternoons are going to work better for me. We're still in Plan B. We could go to A at any time. Do you want to look at the first Wednesday in November? Or is there a different day that works for you guys? I mean, because I know as the year's gotten in, you may have meetings or other obligations within your building, because you both are also leadership roles in your school and in your district, that you might have other obligations that start at 3:00 on a Wednesday.
Right now, Commissioner Hernandez, right now, Wednesdays are the absolute best day for me. So keeping them there would be great.
Commissioner says I'm fine with it because all my meetings on Wednesdays end at 1. So I'm good. Anytime after 1 is fine.
So do we want to say, so the first Wednesday in November is the 4th.
Mhm.
The second Wednesday happens to be Veterans Day, which in my district is, I'm pretty sure, a holiday, and we don't have school. So is the 4th okay with you? I'm not sure what your schedules look like. Do we want to try the 4th?
Commissioner Slice, that's fine.
Yeah, the 4th is fine.
I think we just go ahead and set it, and we don't need to
Yeah.
get put because we've already said 3 o'clock's the earliest that works for everybody, with the goal of being done by 4 because everybody's got other things to get on to in life in general. So if we say the 4th at 3 o'clock for the next meeting, and then the changes, I'll work on making the changes and having them in there. So I don't care if we can maybe get with the DPI in the next week or so. Whenever, as soon as it's convenient for them.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
send out something for them to let me know what would work best for them. I'll try for this next week though, if that's
Now,
possible.
don't say that if that can't occur because they're doing a lot of support for virtual learn, schools that are still in that virtual role. I mean, I feel like we can put it to bed without those sources added to the ECEL that module. Like that can come after we say we're done. We're basically saying we're done with what we have for the trainings, the welcome, the before, and the during week, and knowing that the individual course modules, that's where we're going to be adding things as we're trained and as information comes down. And I don't think we need to meet on that every time we need to make a change. Are you guys okay with that? Like if we have a source the DPI recommends we have in it so that they can access it, the advisors can access it, we just add. It's just added.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree.
So the goal being that on the 4th, when we meet back, we're finishing up with this module, and then we hopefully will be finished with it. And then maybe by that time we'll have a better idea of timelines because again, we're still on hold until the Board of Education looks at, we make a decision to when we actually feel like it's feasible to start back up and have meetings and such not. But at some point when we put it to bed, so to speak, after the 4th, like we probably need to have a whole textbook commission meeting to show what we've been working on the last 5 months.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So if there's nothing else that needs to be discussed or that you want to talk about, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Commissioner Slice, motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Jimenez, second.
Okay, Dr. Fair, if you can call the vote.
Sure. Commissioner Hannah Jimenez,
Commissioner Jimenez, aye.
Commissioner Kathleen Linker,
Commissioner Kathleen Linker, aye.
and Commissioner Lindsay Sice.
Commissioner Lindsay Slice, aye.
Right? All those present?
Okay. Did I say aye?
You did.
They're mowing in the field behind the house, and I'm trying to keep it muted somewhat. Okay, so with that, we are adjourned. See you ladies on the 4th, and possibly gentlemen, at 3 o'clock.
First time for everything. Love y'all.
Yep.
Bye.